My friends, at this very moment, the world is witnessing a brutal reality check between those who print weapons as if they were paper toys and those who forge their lethality in fire, blood, and the steel of decades of real combat. The autocratic axis trembles because it has just realized that the next global war will not be won only by those with the most futuristic designs, but by those who possess the most overwhelming and unstoppable daily saturation capability. The old saying goes that in life only three things are absolutely inevitable: death, taxes, and the B-52 bomber. The great geopolitical truth that the media doesn't understand is that the United States is not just upgrading an old plane. They are rescuing museum pieces, armoring them with the most lethal technology of the 21st century, and preparing the greatest missile saturation machine in history to take flight. Attention! Into the 2050s, reaching the absurd mark of 100 years of continuous operation. Look how insane that is. We're talking about a structure designed in 1952 in the era when rock and roll was being born, and today it's the ultimate nightmare for air defenses in Asia and the Middle East. Now pay attention, because the practical consequence of this decision shakes the balance of global power. China and Russia have entered a state of silent panic. Chinese military strategic intelligence, after closely observing the devastation in the Middle East and the adaptability shown by the Americans and Israelis, who fight and strike like violent, unpredictable tornadoes simultaneously, in the air, at sea, on land, in space, and in cyberspace, simply retreated. Beijing swallowed hard and postponed its scheduled plans to invade the island of Taiwan. And why, you ask me? My friends, because the Chinese leadership, no matter how many frantic shipyards they have churning out ships and factories spitting out jets, knows that they are nowhere near having the ability to adapt. And what about the doctrine forged in decades of blood, which empowers American engineers, pilots, and strategists? The ultimate proof of this unattainable superiority is the new B-52 project. This machine is an intergenerational monster. In the American Air Force, we have great-grandchildren who are now sitting in the exact same ejection seat, operating the very same metal fuselage that their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents flew in Vietnam and the Cold War. This reliability and durability are feats of engineering that no amount of Chinese money can buy. And this is where I introduce our ultimate metaphor for you to understand the new military doctrine of the West. The B-52 stopped being a traditional airplane and became the Stratospheric Ballista. Yes, my friends, the Stratospheric Ballista. Think of the ancient Roman ballistae, those immense siege machines. A ballista doesn't enter hand-to-hand combat, it doesn't draw a sword. On the front line, it positions itself kilometers away in a safe blind spot and fires heavy, unstoppable, and destructive projectiles that crush the enemy's fortress before the enemy even sees who fired. And that's what Iran's executioner does today. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and like the video. It takes a lot of work to make it. Do you think investing billions to keep a 70-year-old plane flying is a sign of weakness, cost-cutting, or technological regression? Wrong! The brutal engineering behind this decision will shatter what you think you know. No one at the Pentagon is wasting money on vanity projects anymore. American military planners have already understood that World War III will be a war of technology, yes, but above all, a war of target saturation. And that takes us straight to the heart of the machine. For you to understand the absolute panic that dominates the autocratic axis, you first need to understand the physical and brutal dimensions of our stratospheric ballista. Forget the sleek and fragile fighter jets from the movies. We're talking about a titanic monster of 220 tons of steel, wiring, and fuel. With a colossal wingspan of 56 meters from tip to tip, the equivalent of a 15-story building flying horizontally. This war machine houses a crew of 5, all working in perfect sync: pilot, co-pilot, navigator, weapons operator, and electronic warfare officer. The tactical translation of this, my friends, is that it's not just a cockpit. It's a compact human extermination command center designed to orchestrate digital apocalypse on the battlefield in real time. This metal colossus tears through the stratosphere. At over 1,000 kilometers per hour, it has an unrefueled range of more than 14,000 kilometers. Are you aware of the diplomatic consequence of that massive range? It means that this bomber can take off from a secure runway in the middle of the American continent, cross oceans, and unleash fire in the heart of Tehran or Beijing, and return without ever needing to ask for diplomatic authorization or use bases in cowardly allied countries. It is American military independence made real. The old TF-33 engines weren't bad. They just reached the physical limit of metal fatigue after 60 years of flights and combat. The spare parts became relics that were impossible to find. This exhaustion caused the fleet's readiness to drop drastically, failing to meet operational goals in 7 of the last 11 years. But this is where the tactical translation rule comes in. Switching to the F-130 engines is not just a matter of easier maintenance. These new British engines consume an incredible 30% less fuel. Do you know what that means in practical wartime terms? It means that the stratospheric ballista can take off and remain in attack orbit, hovering silently over the Middle East battlefield for hours on end, without relying on vulnerable aerial refueling tankers. In a Pacific scenario where China is focused on taking down American ships and tanker planes, a bomber with extended range becomes a weapon that's virtually impossible to contain. Furthermore, the lack of ready aircraft was even delaying doomsday itself. The brand new AGM-181A nuclear cruise missile, one of the most lethal weapons ever conceived, had its flight tests delayed simply because there weren't enough bombers on the ground. By modernizing the beating heart of the aircraft, the Air Force ensures not only that the plane can drop conventional bombs, but also guarantees that it serves as the main test bed and launch platform for the next generation of long-range nuclear missiles. It's the pure physics of mechanical engineering saving the West's nuclear deterrence. But why spend $21 billion on a geriatric giant when Americans already have the hypersonic B-1 and the stealthy B-2 and the brand new ultra-secret B-21 Raider? The B-52 is huge, loud, emits a gigantic radar signature, and is absolutely not stealthy at all. It seems like an easy target, right? Wrong again. And the change in tactical doctrine answers our question with lethal force. The turning point happened when the Pentagon stopped seeing the B-52 as a carpet bomber. Everyone still remembers the images from the Vietnam War, when the Big Belly variant carried an impressive 84 cluster bombs, each weighing about 500 pounds, saturating entire forests at once. Forget about that. The B-52J won't be flying over the heads of enemy generals. Today, it's a gigantic missile truck. In its current configuration, it carries 20 modern stealth JSSM missiles, 12 mounted under the wings and 8 internally, on a precision rotary launcher which works exactly like the rotating cylinder of a colossal steel revolver. But pay attention and picture this scene to understand the firepower we're talking about. It's pitch dark. Over the tense waters in the Strait of Hormuz, an American B-52 takes off silently from a base in the Indian Ocean. It doesn't need to invade Iran's dangerous and well-protected airspace. Almost 1,000 kilometers away from the target, flying serene and untouchable like a stratospheric crossbow, its belly doors open. The rotary launcher spins with a roar, a muffled mechanical sound, and it releases a simultaneous salvo of JASSM-R stealth cruise missiles with extended range. These invisible missiles glide over the ocean and annihilate Iranian underground bunkers or command centers before the sirens in Tehran even have time to go off. My friends, can you feel the chilling terror of knowing that your country could be wiped off the map by a plane that your radar can't even see because it's hundreds of kilometers away? And if you understand the overwhelming weight of this information, if you think this topic is vital for your understanding of the world, And if you want to break through the bubble of lies from the corporate media so that more Brazilians can have access to true high-level geopolitics, sponsor this video right now. Our intelligent stronghold depends solely and exclusively on awakened minds like yours. Use the super thanks button down below or use the information that's flashing on your screen right now. Sponsor our frontline, shield our operation, and help arm our nation's intellect. In addition to obliterating ground defenses, the US Air Force turned this century-old machine into a devastating naval threat by equipping it with LRASM missiles, long-range anti-ship missiles. Do you know what the consequence of this is? What it means in practice? The only bomber with intercontinental range, carrying a massive salvo of smart missiles, capable of shattering battleships and frigates hundreds of kilometers away. It is capable of single-handedly sinking an entire Chinese attack fleet or permanently blocking Iran's coastal navy. And note that Russia is now an international peer. Basically, the Americans aren't spending billions to create a better bomber. They are forging the most perfect and inexhaustible missile launcher in human history. It doesn't need to penetrate enemy air defenses. It stays connected via satellite with drones, ships, and stealth fighters, receiving data and firing wave after wave of missiles without ever putting its fuselage in the danger zone. However, for this lethal platform to fire accurately in the future digital battle space, the steel giant needs new digital eyes. And this is where the monumental $1.5 billion challenge comes in. The new active electronically scanned array radar, the AN/APG-82 model. Making the analog wiring from 1952 process the digital radar frequencies used by modern air superiority fighters is a headache of biblical proportions for the engineers. The technical promise of this radar is astonishing. The AESA has no moving mechanical parts. It directs beams of pure energy at the speed of light. The direct tactical implication of this is frightening for the adversary. The bomber can now see much farther, track multiple enemy targets simultaneously and independently, produce topographic maps of the ground with the precision of a high-resolution photograph, and identify the exact profile of ships on the sea. And crucially, operate unaffected in extreme electronic warfare environments, frying and confusing the radars of enemy anti-aircraft batteries before they can lock on target. My friends, it's a formidable machine. The Air Force had to intelligently recalculate the course of this program. Faced with monumental engineering delays, they are implementing a minimum viable version. Putting the advanced radar behind the old radome, the nose of the plane, focusing on what's vital to make it operate quickly. Accepting that full readiness will slip from 2026 to the window between 2030 and 2035. That sounds like a planning weakness. Wrong again? Is this wartime pragmatism? Is the complexity of redesigning analog circuits that hadn't even been imagined during the Korean War the price to pay to turn the legend into operational reality? According to government audit reports, one of the obstacles was the lack of purely digital engineering tools essential for simulating failures before the costly test flights. They planned perfect schedules, but in the arena of raw military engineering, theoretical perfection is always torn apart by the contingencies of physics. But there is a hidden factor, a setback caused by the aircraft's own success. Pay attention. With the bombers in real operation at the front and dropping fire on the heads of extremism, there were few aircraft left available to serve as laboratory test beds for these billion-dollar upgrades. Now, let me tell you something. Do you know that we're on rented ground? And these are dark times. That's why I just created a backup channel. If the truth we bring here gets censored, we'll meet there on the backup channel. The QR code is showing on the screen. It will take you straight to the subscribe button. Or, if you prefer, click the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Before we get kicked out of here, we're already taking precautions, just like the engineers behind the B-52 are preparing the machine for the war of the future. So don't forget about our backup channel, which is called Blinde a sua mente. Did you like it? Blinde a sua mente. My friends, Washington's final and most dangerous gamble is yet to come. The armed forces plan to start the production line and mechanical modification of the new F-130 engines practically without any completed development flight tests. Translated from bureaucratic jargon, they will start paying for and installing the modifications even before proving that the complete aircraft can fly excellently under these new conditions. It's a frightening risk. If late tests reveal an aerodynamic failure or a resonance error in the engine, the United States will have to redo and fix dozens of planes they've already paid for. It's a race against time where there's no room for mistakes. In the end, the legend holds up. The Buff, a grand and obese metal eagle, our relentless stratospheric ballista, proves that strategy outweighs design. The Air Force is betting billions that a machine sketched on drawing boards in the 1940s will continue to be the most feared weapon of terror in the Western arsenal for the next 30 years. And the lingering question, echoing through the test hangars, is not whether the machine is capable of destroying the enemy, but whether modern engineering will be able to finish rebuilding this titan. Before the modernization schedule itself becomes a greater threat than the aging metal and the fury of Iran. Your turn, analyst. Head to the comments and stake out your position on the board. Our intelligence has analyzed the pieces, and I want you to show that you fully understand the brutal change in military doctrine that is approaching. Type the two keywords with force and conviction that sum up the fate of air power: stratospheric ballista and saturation warfare. I repeat, stratospheric ballista and saturation warfare. Naivety costs countries. Ignorance takes away your freedom. Prepare your mind. Shielding is strategic. The survival of a warring nation or your own business follows the same cold law of the 21st century. Pay attention. The most valuable thing today, my friends, is not gold, uranium, or oil. It's people's attention. And the rule of this game is non-negotiable. Whoever doesn't control their own narrative is inevitably controlled by someone else's narrative. Today, I see a true army of entrepreneurs and professionals who are undeniably the best at what they do. They have the best technical delivery, the best product, the most experience forged over years in the trenches, but they suffer from a deadly flaw in today's market. They are invisible. Meanwhile, shallow and noisy competitors make money simply because they learned how to break out of the bubble and capture the public's attention. You need to stop being trapped in anonymity and start being recognized as the unquestionable authority in your field. Building this level of exposure is not luck, it's communication engineering. It's the precise application of our narrative protocol that allowed me to surpass 50 million views every month on social media, monetizing in dollars. So I'm recruiting leaders who are tired of being invisible. To install this system in your mind, this coming Sunday, August 16th, I will hold a 100% in-person immersion locked in with me in my studio in Curitiba. The operation is relentless, but it's limited to 10 seats and there are exactly 2 spots left. And when they're taken, the steel door comes down. Want to join? On the screen now, or if you prefer, the secure link in the description and in the first pinned comment. It's your chance to sit face to face with me. No fluff videos, no theories, no silly motivation. It's practical. Face to face. You will ask, I will answer, and you will do what needs to be done to break out of the bubble. So I'll be waiting for you here with me. Guys, speaking of the B-52 bomber bombs, war, Ukraine, China, Russia, I want to recommend a fantastic series for you. Yes, it's there on our channel with series and movie recommendations, no whining, no culture wars. It's a curated selection where you pick the title and enjoy it with your family. This series premiered on the streaming service, showing the Ukrainian and Russian operations, the drones, everything exploding at the same time. There are World War I trenches mixed with 21st century drones. Artificial intelligence is amazing. And I recommend it to you. Check out our recommendation. And don't forget, if you think this content is relevant, sponsor it right now so more people can access it. Okay? The information is showing up here on the screen, or you can give a super thanks directly through the panel. From the video you're watching, and don't forget about our backup channel. Subscribe and make sure you can keep following Shimon Oliveira every day here on this platform. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it takes work to make it. Blinde a sua mente. Yes, my friends, blinde a sua mente. I'm Shimon Oliveira and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.